learners, I am Vinita Sharma, PGT Chemistry from Kendriya Vidyalaya Cant Mathura. Today I am taking Chapter 2 Solutions, Class 12th NCERT Chemistry Part 1. This chapter is from the Physical Chemistry portion and is important chapter for the examination point of view. So you have listened about the term solutions. Solutions are homogeneous mixtures of two or more pure substances. In a solution, the solute is dispersed uniformly throughout the solvent. Solutions are homogeneous mixture. Homogeneous mixture means uniform distribution of the solute in the solvent. The compound, the substance which is present in the excess amount is called solvent, and the substance which is present in the small quantity is called solution. State of solution, state of solvent, state of solute and their examples. You are looking a table in which the state of solution is given and state of solvent is given. When gas is the solution, the solvent is a gas, solute is a gas, and the very good example is air. Air is a mixture of gases, so it is a gaseous solution. Liquid solution. When solvent is liquid, solute is gas. Then this type of solution is called liquid solution, and the example is oxygen dissolved in water. Now liquid solutions in which solvent is liquid, solute is liquid, and the example is alcohol in water. We add water in alcohol and this type of solution is called liquid solution. Another example of liquid solution in which solvent is liquid and the solute is solid, and the good example is salt in water, sugar in water. These are the example in which the solvent is liquid and solute is solid. Now the solid solutions. When solvent is solid and solute is gas, this is the example: hydrogen in presence of palladium metal, platinum metal and nickel metal, and you have already studied in class 11 the process of hydrogenation, in which we add the hydrogen in presence of these catalysts. Solid solution in which state of solvent is solid and the state of solute is liquid, and the example is mercury in silver. Both are metal, but mercury exists in the liquid state at room temperature. Now the solid solution in which both of the solute and solvent are solids, and most of the examples of alloys are of this type, solid solutions. Here the example is given: silver in gold. Now the next topic: how does a solution form? How does solution form between the solvent and solute? Solvent molecules attracted to surface ions. Each ion is surrounded by solvent molecules, and enthalpy changes with each interaction, broken or formed. If the solvent is water, the ions are hydrated. The intermolecular force here is ion dipole forces. The ions are solvated, surrounded by solvent. So when the attractive forces between the solute and solvent are stronger, then solution can be formed. Energy changes in the solution. Enthalpy change, we divide the process into three steps. First is the separation of solute particles, separation of the solvent particles to make holes, and the formation of new interactions between solute and solvent. The intermolecular attractions that hold molecules together in liquid and solids also play a central role in the formation of solutions. As I had already discussed, when the solute molecules are attracted towards the solvent molecules, then only the possibility the solution can be formed. When one substance solute dissolve in another substance solvent, the particles of the solute disperse throughout the solvent. The solute particles occupy positions that are normally taken by solvent molecules. The ease with which a solute particle replaces a solvent molecules depend on the relative strength of three types of interactions. Actually, the solute particles take the position of the solvent particles, and this only be possible by the interactive forces. First type of interactive forces: solvent-solvent interaction, solute-solute interaction, and solvent-solute interaction. When solvent-solute interactions are more than the solvent-solvent interaction, solute-solute interactions, then only the possibility of the formation of the solution. Because solution can be formed only when the solute particles take the position of the solvent particles in solvent disperse phase. If the solute-solvent interaction is stronger than the solvent-solvent attractions and solute-solute attraction, the solution process is favorable. This is the feasibility of the formation of the solution. Or this type of formation of the solution is exothermic, in which delta solution H is lower than 0, means negative. If the solute-solvent interaction is weaker than the solvent-solvent interaction and solute-solute interaction, then the solution process is endothermic, means delta solution H is greater than 0. We have to provide energy, we have to provide heat to develop the attractive forces between solute and solvent. Types of solutions. A saturated solution contains the maximum amount of a solute that will dissolve in a given solvent at a specific temperature. Saturated solution, or we can say in another words, saturated solution is that solution in which no more solute can be added at a given temperature. Means we cannot add a solute at a given temperature in the given solution, and that solution is called saturated solution. An unsaturated solution contains less solute than it has the capacity to dissolve. A third type, a supersaturated solution, contains more solute than is present in a saturated solution. Supersaturated solution contains more solute particles than the saturated solution, and these solutions are not very much stable. On cooling, the solute particles will reappear in the solution. Factors which affect the solubility of the solute in solvent. Nature of solute and solvent. And we have already read this phrase like dissolved like. Means polar dissolves polar, non-polar dissolves non-polar. Polar substances tend to dissolve in polar solvents. Non-polar substances tend to dissolve in non-polar substances. Example, vitamin A is soluble in non-polar compounds like fats. Vitamin C is soluble in water. Factors which affecting solubility. The stronger the intermolecular attractions between solute and solvent, the more likely the solute will dissolve. As much as the intermolecular attraction, intermolecular forces between the solute and solvent, then the solute can easily be formed the solution by dissolving in the given solvent. Glucose, which has the hydrogen bonding, is very soluble in water. Cyclohexane, which only has dispersion forces, is not water soluble. Intermolecular forces is equal to hydrogen bonds, dipole-dipole, dispersion ions. Water also have ion dipole forces soluble in water. This we had already studied in slide 1 or 2. Gases in solution. This is a very important law, Henry law, an important portion of this chapter. How the gases dissolve in the given liquid and to form solution. The solubility of gas in water increase with increasing mass. The reason is larger molecules have stronger dispersion forces. These forces we have already studied in chapter states of matter in class 11th. Solubility of some gases in water at 20 degrees Celsius with 1 atmospheric gas pressure is giving N2 solubility in molarity 0.69 into 10 raised to power minus 3 at 20 degrees Celsius and at 1 atmospheric gas pressure. Carbon monoxide solubility is 1.04 into 10 raised to power minus 3. O2 solubility is 1.38 into 10 raised to power minus 3. Argon solubility is 1.50 into 10 raised to power minus 3. And krypton solubility is 2.79 into 10 raised to power minus 3. This table is proving that larger molecules have stronger dispersion forces. Solubility of gases in water increase with increasing mass. Here, as the mass is increasing, the solubility is increasing. Effect of pressure on solubility. This is one of the very important factor for the formation of gaseous solution, the effect of pressure. And this is the Henry's law, an important part of this chapter. The solubility of liquids and solids does not change appreciably with pressure, but the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to its pressure. The solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to its pressure by keeping temperature constant. Remember this point. Then solubility of gas is denoted by capital Sg and the pressure of the gas is denoted by capital Pg. So the solubility of gas is directly proportional to the pressure. More pressure, more will be the solubility in the given liquid. So for the proportionality we have some constant, that constant is K. So the equation of the Henry's law is Sg is equal to Kpg. Sg is the solubility of the gas, K is the Henry law constant or proportionality constant that goes in that solvent, and Pg is the partial pressure of the gas above the liquid. Effect of temperature. The opposite is true of gases. Higher temperature drives gases out of the solution. Carbonated soft drinks are more bubbly if stored in the refrigerator. Warm lakes have less O2 dissolved in them than cool lakes. Means as we increase the temperature of the gaseous solution, the solubility of the gas in the given liquid will decrease and it drives to come out from the solution. Ways of expressing concentration of solution. These contents we had already studied in chapter 1 of class 11th NCERT textbook part 1, basic concepts of chemistry chapter. Mass percentage. The formula of the mass percentage is the mass of one component in the solution divided by total mass of the solution into 100. When A plus B is forming the solution AB, then mass percentage of A component, then mass of A in solution divided by total mass of the solution into 100. Now parts per million. This is one of the important concentration expression. When the solute amount is very small as compared to the amount of solvent, means in parts, then mass of A in solution divided by total mass of the solution into 10 raised to power 6. So for very dilute solutions we use the concentration expression ppms. Parts per billion. Mass of A in solution divided by total mass of solution into 10 raised to power 9. Now mole fraction, which is denoted by symbol capital X, and the mole fraction of a component of a solution may be written as, suppose again A is the solute, B is the solvent, and it is giving a solution AB. Then mole fraction of component A is XA. XA is equal to number of moles of component A divided by total number of moles in the solution. Another concentration expression which is important for the numerical point of view, most of the numericals are given on molarity and molality in textual exercise, also in the in-text. Molarity is denoted by capital M, and it is the number of moles of solute dissolved in 1 liter of the solution. Remember this point that the total volume of the solution should be 1 liter. Number of moles of solute divided by volume of the solution in 1 liter or 1000 ml. Now the molarity is affected by the factor temperature. As the volume is in denominator and volume is affected by the temperature, so if the temperature increase, the molarity will decrease, because volume of the solution will increase and the molarity will decrease. Molarity is the concentration expression which is universally taken to express the concentration of the solution. So molarity is denoted by symbol small m, molarity is denoted by symbol capital M. So molarity is the number of moles of solute dissolved in 1 kg of solvent or 1000 gram of solvent. That is number of moles of solute divided by mass of the solvent is 1 kg or 1000 gram. This is simply a mass ratio, number of moles and divided by the mass of the solvent in 1 kg. So this concentration expression is not affected by the temperature, so it is taken universally throughout the world. Normality is denoted by capital M, and it is the gram equivalent of the solute present in 1 liter of the solution. Gram equivalent of the solute. How we can calculate the gram equivalents? That's mass of the solution divided by the number of electrons exchanged in the particular chemical reaction. So gram equivalents of the solute dissolved in 1 liter of the solution or 1000 ml of the solution. Colligative properties depend only on the number of solute particles present, not on the identity of the solute particles. Student, colligative properties of the solutions are those properties which depend only on the number of moles of solute particles. especially the non-volatile solute particles. Not on the identity of the solute particles, means nature of the solute particles. Among colligative properties, we have 4 colligative properties in this chapter, which we will study: lowering of vapor pressure, elevation of boiling point, depression of freezing point, and osmotic pressure. Vapor pressure. This term, which we had already studied in chapter States of Matter in class 11th NCERT part 1. As solute molecules are added to a solution, the solvent becomes less volatile, means decreased vapor pressure. Solute-solvent interaction contribute to this effect. Therefore, the vapor pressure of a solution is lower than that of the pure solvent. Means when we add the solute particles, non-volatile solute particles, then the vapor pressure of a solution decreases. If a solute is non-volatile, that is, it does not have a measurable vapor pressure, the vapor pressure of its solution is always less than that of the pure solvent. The meaning of this content is that when we make the vapors of the pure solvent, then the vapors of the pure solvent will be more. It means more vapor pressure. When we add the non-volatile solute to that same solvent, then these solute particles occupy the surface of the volatile solvent. So the less solvent molecules will convert into the vapors. Less vapor pressure means less vapors means less vapor pressure. So if we add the non-volatile solute to the volatile solvent, then its vapor pressure is always less than that of its pure solvent, and it is denoted by P01 minus P1 upon P01 is equal to N2 upon N1. P01 is the vapor pressure of the pure solvent. P1 is the vapor pressure of the solution. And again it is divided by P01, then this is what? Relative lowering of vapor pressure, which directly proportional to the mole fraction of the non-volatile solute. Because the lowering of the vapor pressure P01 minus P1 is the lowering of vapor pressure is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the non-volatile solute. It is equal to N2 upon N1. Now P01 minus P1 upon P01 is equal to, when we convert number of moles into the mass and molar mass, then W2 divided by M2, this is N2, and W1 divided by M1 is the N1. When we equalize the equation, then it is W2 into M1 upon M2 into W1. This formula of the lowering of vapor pressure is important for the numerical calculations. Raoult's law. This law is also important for the theoretical question, although this chapter is numerical based, but some theoretical question may come from Raoult's law, deviation from Raoult's law, ideal solutions and non-ideal solutions. Now see the Raoult's law. Raoult's law. It states that vapor pressure of a solvent over a solution Pa is given by the vapor pressure of the pure solvent P0A times the mole fraction of the solvent in the solution is equal to XA. Or in other words, we can say the vapor pressure, partial vapor pressure of the component, that is PA. Partial vapor pressure of the component is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that component. Partial vapor pressure means the pressure of one of the component in the solution. So for the proportionality we have some constant, that constant is P naught A, and here what is P naught A? It is the vapor pressure of component A in the pure state, and this is the vapor pressure of the component A in solution, which is called as partial vapor pressure. So PA is equal to P naught A into XA. Partial vapor pressure is equal to the product of mole fraction of that component and the vapor pressure of that pure component. PA is equal to XA into P naught A. Now I am taking the NCERT content for more clarity of this concept. This is routes. The partial vapor pressure of each component of a solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction present in the solution. Thus, for component 1, P1 is directly proportional to X1. X1 is the mole fraction of component 1 and P1 is the partial vapor pressure of component 1. Now for the proportionality we have some constant, that constant is P naught 1. Then P1 is equal to P naught 1 into X1. P naught 1 is the vapor pressure of component 1 in the pure state. Similarly for component 2, P2 is equal to P naught 2 into X2. So whereas P naught 2 represent the vapor pressure of the pure component 2, according to Dalton's law of partial pressure, the total pressure over the solution phase in the container will be the sum of the partial pressure of the components of the solution and given as P total is equal to P1 plus P2. Then P total is equal to P naught 1 into X1 plus P naught 2 into X2, and suppose the X2 is non-volatile, then X1 for the binary solution the mole fraction of the two component is equal to unity. Then X1 we can write the X1 as 1 minus X2 into P naught 1 plus P naught 2 into X2. Then the equation will be P naught 1 plus P naught 2 minus P naught 1 into X2. Now when we plot a graph between mole fraction and vapor pressure, most of the students makes this graph but forget to take the values on x-axis and y-axis. So we have to take the mole fraction on x-axis and vapor pressure on the y-axis. Now Here the mole fraction of component 1 is equal to 1 and mole fraction of component 2 is equal to 0. Means here is only the component 1. Then its vapor pressure of the pure component 1. Now here the mole fraction of component 1 is equal to 0 and mole fraction of component 2 is equal to 1. Means here is no component 1, only the component 2. Then there is only the vapor pressure of the pure component 2. Now when we add the component 2, then the vapor pressure of component 1 is gradually decreases and reaches to 0. And this is what? Partial vapor pressure of component 1. Now here the component 2 is equal to 0, so its vapor pressure is 0. But when it is 0 to 1, then the vapor pressure of component 2 is gradually increases and reaches to its maximum value P02. So it is what? It is the partial vapor pressure of component 2. When we join these two lines, then we get P total vapor pressure of the solution, which is equal to the partial vapor pressure of the component 1 plus partial vapor pressure of the component 2. So this is the graphical representation of the Raoult's law from the NCERT textbook. Don't forget to take these values on x-axis and y-axis. Clear? Now Raoult's law as a special case of Henry's law. P is equal to Kh into X, where P is the pressure on gas and X is the mole fraction of the gaseous solution and Kh is the Henry law constant. Here, now it is clear from this figure that how the addition of non-volatile solute decrease the vapor pressure of the solution. Here we have taken the same solvent in the pure state, more number of vapors and more vapor pressure, and same solvent, 1 mole solvent, we have added 1 mole of non-volatile solute. Now the non-volatile solute occupy the surface of the volatile solvent. Then less number of the solvent particles converting into the vapors. So less number of vapor that decreases the total vapor pressure of the solution containing non-volatile solute. For any solution of the partial vapor pressure of each volatile component in the solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. Now ideal solution and non-ideal solution. This is also an important question, theoretical question from this chapter. What are ideal solution, what are non-ideal solution? And this can be decided only by the Raoult's law. So ideal solutions are those solutions which strictly obeys Raoult's law. And what is Raoult's law? That partial vapor pressure of the component is directly proportional to its mole fraction. So the enthalpy of mixing of the pure component to form the solution is 0 and the volume of the mixing is also 0. So ideal solutions should fulfill these two conditions, that delta mix H, enthalpy change for the mixture or the solution should equal to 0. Delta mix V is equal to 0 means the volume of the mixing should also be equal to 0, then the solution will be ideal. Or at molecular level, ideal behavior of the solution can be explained by considering two components, A and B. In pure component, the intermolecular attractive interactions will be of type AA and BB types. Whereas in the binary solution, in addition of these two interaction, AB type of interactions will also be present. If the intermolecular attractive forces between the A and BB are nearly equal to those between A, B, this leads to the formation of ideal solution. If the interaction between two component A and B exactly equal to the AA interaction and BB interaction, suppose it is a solute and this is a solvent, then solute solvent interaction should equal to the solute solute interactions and solvent solvent interactions. Now the examples of the ideal solutions is normal hexane and normal heptane. The solution of normal hexane and normal heptane, bromoethane and chloroethane, benzene and toluene. These solutions come in the category of the ideal solutions. Now non-ideal solution. Non-ideal solutions are those solutions which does not obey Raoult's law. Means these solutions deviate from the Raoult's law conditions. The vapor pressure of such a solution is either higher or lower than that predicted by the Raoult's law. If it is higher, the solution exhibits positive deviation from Raoult's law, and if it is lower, it exhibits negative deviation from Raoult's law. And in this case, the AB interaction is not equal to AA interaction or BB interaction. If AB interaction is greater than the AA interaction and BB interaction, then this type of deviation is called positive deviation. If AB interaction is weaker than the less than the AA interaction and BB interaction, then this will be the deviation from Raoult's law. Now this is the graphical representation and is important again for the examination point of view. Here the Raoult's law, the green line dotted line graph is the Raoult's law. Now in the positive deviation from the Raoult's law, positive deviation, when we'll have the positive deviation, when we'll have the vapor pressure of the solution will be more than the Raoult's law value, when the AB interactions are weaker than the AA interaction and BB interaction. And when will be the negative deviation? Means the value of the vapor pressure of the component is lower than the value from the Raoult's law. When the AB interaction, solute-solvent interactions are stronger than the solute-solute interaction and solvent-solvent interaction. Now, first we will plot the Raoult's law graph. Again, vapor pressure on the y-axis and the mole fraction on the x-axis. Now, this is the Raoult law lines, green lines. Now, vapor pressure of component 1 is greater than the Raoult's value. Vapor pressure of the component 2 greater than the Raoult's value, and the total vapor pressure is also greater than the Raoult's value. Now, as I discuss, the reason of the positive deviation from the Raoult's law is that that solute solvent interactions are weaker than the solute solute interaction. Solute solvent molecules are weaker than the solute solute interactions and solvent solvent interaction. This solution shows the positive deviation, and the examples are ethanol and acetone. Learn carefully the examples. Ethanol and acetone mixture shows the positive deviation. In pure ethanol, molecules are hydrogen bonded. On adding acetone, its molecule gets in between the host molecules and breaks some of the hydrogen bonds between them. Due to the weakening of the interaction, the solution shows positive deviation. I am repeatedly emphasizing this point that positive deviation is due to the weaker solute solvent interaction than the solute solute interaction and solvent solvent interaction. Now we are taking negative deviation. In negative deviation, as you are looking to the graph of the negative deviation, the values partial vapor pressure of the component 2, component 1 and total vapor pressure is less than the Raoult's law values. And the reason is solute solvent interactions are stronger than the solute solute interactions and solvent solvent interactions. The intermolecular attractive forces between AA and BB are weaker than those of the AB and leads to decrease in the vapor pressure, resulting in negative deviation. An example of this type of mixture is a phenol and aniline. Phenol and aniline mixture shows the negative deviation. In this case, the intermolecular hydrogen bonding between phenolic proton and the lone pair on nitrogen atom of aniline is stronger than the respective intermolecular hydrogen bonding between similar molecules. A mixture of chloroform and acetone forms a solution with negative deviation from Raoult's law. This is because chloroform molecule is able to form hydrogen bonding with the acetone molecule, and it is shown here. This is acetone, propanone 2, and it is making hydrogen bonding with chloroform. So this bond is stronger than the chloroform bond and acetone bond. So the decreasing the capacity tendency of the molecules for each component, and consequently the vapor pressure decreases, resulting in negative deviation from Raoult's law. This I have already discussed from the NCERT content, important content of this chapter. Azeotropic mixtures. This topic is important for the 2 marks questions, and for the 1 mark question, as example, which mixture shows the maximum boiling azeotrope, give some examples, minimum boiling azeotropes, give one example of this type of mixtures. So some liquids on mixing form azeotropes, which are binary mixtures having the same composition in liquid and vapor phase and boil at a constant temperature. So what are azeotropes? Azeotropes are those binary mixtures which are having the same composition in liquid and vapor phase and they boil at a constant temperature, means boiling points are same. In such cases, it is not possible to separate the components by fractional distillation because these components mix together and to form the azeotrophs, and the boiling point, they boils at a constant temperature, so boiling points of the both of the components are same, so we cannot separate these components by the method of the fractional distillation. There are two types of azeotrophs: minimum boiling azeotrophs and maximum boiling azeotrophs. Students, minimum boiling azeotrophs shows the positive deviation from Raoult's law, and maximum boiling azeotrophs shows the negative deviation from the Raoult's law. The solution which shows a large positive deviation from Raoult's law form minimum boiling azeotrophs at a specific composition, and the solution which show large negative deviation from Raoult's law form maximum boiling azeotrophs at a specific composition. Here I had taken this content from the NCERT textbook also. Raoult's law, P1 is equal to x1 into P01. Partial vapor pressure of the component is equal to the product of the vapor pressure of that component in pure state and its mole fraction. For an ideal solution, again I am taking this P total is equal to P1 plus P2. Now next colligative property is boiling point elevation. Solute-solvent interaction also cause solution to have higher boiling points and lower freezing points than the pure solvents. The boiling point elevation delta Tb is defined as the boiling point of the solution Tb minus the boiling point of the pure solvent T0B. Delta Tb is the elevation of boiling point and which is equal to the boiling point of the solution Tb minus T0B. Tb is the boiling point of solution and T0B is the boiling point of the pure solvent. So the difference between these two values by the addition of the non-volatile solute, as we have already taken the lowering of vapor pressure earlier, that by the addition of the non-volatile solute, the total vapor pressure of the solution decreases. So when the vapor pressure decreases, the boiling point increases. We have to heat that solution more to equalize the vapor pressure of the solution to the atmospheric pressure. The value of the delta Tb is proportional to the vapor pressure lowering, and so is also proportional to the concentration molality of the solution, that is delta Tb is directly proportional to small m. Small m. The change in the boiling point is proportional to the molality of the solution. Delta Tb is equal to Kb into small m, where small m is the molality of the solution and Kb is the proportionality constant, or here we say it as ebullioscopic constant or molal elevation boiling point constant. Kb is given by three names: proportionality constant, ebullioscopic constant and molal elevation boiling point constant. And delta Tb is the what? Elevation boiling point, where Kb is the molal boiling point elevation constant, a property of the solvent. When we keep the values of the molality and we want to calculate the molar mass of the solute, then this is equal to 1000 into W2. W2 is what? W2 is mass of the non-volatile solute. Kb is the molar elevation boiling point constant. Delta Tb is the elevation of boiling point, and into W1 is the mass of solvent, and it is the molar mass of the non-volatile solute. In most of the numerical, you will use this formula. Molar mass of the non-volatile solute can be calculated by the elevation boiling point equation. I am taking the graph from the NCERT textbook. Then here is the graph. Now the graph is in between vapor pressure and temperature. Now this is the boiling point of the pure solvent. Here the boiling point of the solution. By the addition of non-volatile solute, the total vapor pressure decreases. Total vapor pressure decreases. Then we have to heat the solution more to equalize the vapor pressure to the atmospheric pressure. So this is the boiling point of pure solvent, and this is the boiling point of the solution containing non-volatile solute, and the difference in the boiling point is denoted by delta Tb, which is a elevation of boiling point, a colligative property. We depend upon the number of moles of the non-volatile solute. This I had already taken. Delta Tb is equal to Tb minus T naught B. Tb is the boiling point of solution, this value, and T naught B is the boiling point of the pure solvent, this value, which is known as elevation of boiling point. So this point, this colligative property should be clear in your mind by taking this graphical representation, effective graphical representation from the NCERT textbook. Again, delta Tb is directly proportional to the molality of the solution. For the proportionality, we have some constant. That constant is Kb, which is called as boiling point elevation constant. Boiling point elevation constant or molar elevation constant, ebullioscopic constant. And the unit of Kv is Kelvin kilojoule per mole. 1 mark for a 1 mark question. What is the unit of the Kb? What is the unit of the Kf? Molar elevation boiling point constant, molar depression freezing point constant. The unit is same, Kelvin kilogram mole inverse. Strongly learn this unit, and this the calculation of the molar mass, molality calculation. W2 number of moles of non-volatile solute dissolved in 1000 gram of the solvent. Then this value will come 1000 into W2, weight of the non-volatile solute, divided by the weight of solvent W1, and M2 is the molar mass of the non-volatile solute. When we put this value in the above equation, this delta Tb is equal to Kb into M, then we get this equation, molar mass of the non-volatile solute. Suppose we have to calculate the molar mass of the non-volatile solute, then it will be equal to 1000 into W2. What is W2 here? Weight of the non-volatile solute into Kb, molar elevation boiling point constant, divided by delta Tb. elevation in boiling point, and into W1 mass of the solvent, mass of the solvent. This is mass of the non-volatile solute. This is molar mass of the non-volatile solute. Repeating the content for your better understanding. Now the next colligative property, depression of the freezing point. The difference in the freezing point of the pure solvent and the freezing point of the solution containing non-volatile solute is called depression in freezing point. This is the freezing point of pure solvent. This is the freezing point of solution containing non-volatile solute. Now this is pure solvent, this is freezing point. Now the total vapor pressure decreases by the addition of the non-volatile solute. Then the freezing point of the solution containing non-volatile solute also decreases. This is called depression. Now frozen solvent, and it is denoted by delta TF. Again, delta TF is equal to T naught F minus TF, where T naught F is what? This freezing point of pure solvent. What is TF? Freezing point of solution containing non-volatile solute. So this is called depression in freezing point, and it again directly proportional to the molality of the solution. Delta TF is directly proportional to small m. For the proportionality we have some constant, that constant is Kf. Here Kf is molar freezing point depression constant or cryoscopic constant. Kb was ebullioscopic constant and Kf is the cryoscopic constant. Both equations are same, only the difference is the delta TB and delta TF. Freezing point depression constant, molar depression constant or cryoscopic constant. And the unit of the Kf is same, Kelvin, kilogram, mole inverse. Kelvin, kilogram, mole inverse. This year, 1 mark question was what is the unit of depression freezing point constant? And the answer is Kelvin, kilogram, mole inverse. Same equation, molality is denoted by this, number of moles of solute, non-volatile solute W2 divided by M2 dissolved in 1000 gram of solvent. Now when we put this value in the equation, delta TF is equal to Kf into M, then we get this equation. Again the molar mass of the non-volatile solute can be calculated by this equation, Kf cryoscopic constant into W2 mass of the non-volatile solute into 1000 divided by depression in freezing point into W1 weight of the solvent. These equations are very much important for the examination point of view. Now the osmotic pressure. Now I am switching over to these slides. Osmosis. When we separate the two solution by SPM, semi-permeable membrane, then the flow of the solvent particles from lower concentration to the higher concentration. And this is high solute concentration and lower solvent concentration. Here low solute concentration, higher solvent concentration. Osmotic pressure is the fourth colligative property. The pressure required to stop osmosis is known as osmotic pressure and it is denoted by pi. This is fourth one, colligative property, osmotic pressure, which is denoted by pi, and it is the amount of pressure which is required to stop the osmosis process. And pi is equal to mRT, where m is the molarity of the solution, capital R is the gas constant, T is the temperature on Kelvin scale. We can write the molarity as number of moles of the solute dissolved in V volume into RT, where m is the molarity, small n expression is the number of moles of the solute, and V is the volume of the solution, R is the gas constant, which value is 0.0821 liter atmosphere Kelvin inverse mole inverse. This equation is called Van 't Hoff equation for osmotic pressure. If the osmotic pressure is the same on both sides of the membrane, that is the concentration are the same, the solutions are called isotonic solutions. When the osmotic pressure in the two solutions are same and these solutions are separated by the semi-permeable membrane, then there is no flow of the solvent particles from any solution to the other solution, because both are having the same concentration. That solutions are called isotonic solutions. If the solute concentration outside the cell is greater than the inside the cell, this solution is called hypertonic solution. Clear? Now the equation is pi V is equal to nRT, and we can write the n as W2 divided by M2. Now this is the number of weight of the non-volatile solute divided by its molar mass into RT. Then when we want to calculate the molar mass of a non-volatile solute, then it is equal to M2 is equal to W2 RT by pi V, where pi is the osmotic pressure, V is the volume of the solution, capital R is the gas constant, and T is the temperature on Kelvin scale. Now I am taking from the NCERT textbook. This is the representation. You are looking a figure which is showing the osmotic pressure. The amount of pressure which is applied on the solution to stop the osmosis. Now here is the process of osmosis. These two solutions, solution and solvent, separated by the semi-permeable membrane. Now the concentration of the solution is more than the concentration of the solvent. Then the solvent particles pass through this SPM to the solution. Now this is the osmotic pressure, which we can, the amount of the pressure we apply on the solution side, and we can stop the osmosis process. Pi is directly proportional to C. C is the concentration of the solution, or you can write the capital MRT, molarity of the solution, and pi is equal to N2 by V, number of moles of solute dissolved in V, volume of the solution, VRT, and pi V is equal to W2 RT by M2, where W2 is what? In all the three equations, I have taken W2 as weight of the non-volatile solute in grams. M2 is the molar mass of the non-volatile solute. Now, when we want to calculate the molar mass of the non-volatile solute, then this will be the equation W2RT by pi V. Two solutions having same osmotic pressure at a given temperature are called isotonic solutions. And such, on the other hand, if we place the cells in a solution containing more than 0.9% mass by volume solute sodium chloride, water will flow out of the cell and they would shrink. Such a solution is called hypertonic. If the salt concentration is less than the 0.9% mass volume, the solution is said to be hypotonic. In this case, water will flow into the cell if we place in this solution and they would swell up. Yes, edema is the stage where water will move. When placed in water containing less than 0.9% mass by volume, blood cells swell due to the flow of water in them by osmosis. Pupil taking a lot of salt or salty food experience water retention in tissue cells and intercellular spaces because of the osmosis. The resulting puffiness or swelling is called edema. Water retention property of the body of the human beings by which the retention of water takes place due to taking of the more salt in food, and this puffiness or swelling in the body is called edema. Water movement from soil into plants roots and subsequently into upper portion of the plant is partly due to osmosis. The preservation of meat by salting and of fruit by adding sugar protects against bacterial action. Through the process of osmosis, a bacterium on salted meat or candied fruit loses water, shrivels and dies. Reverse osmosis and water purification. Reverse osmosis. The direction of the osmosis can be reversed if a pressure larger than the osmotic pressure is applied to the solution site. That is, now the pure solvent flows out of the solution through the semi-permeable membrane. This phenomenon is called reverse osmosis. We apply more pressure than the osmotic pressure on the salt water side, or to take the drinking water from the salt water through SPM, we have to apply more pressure than the osmotic pressure on solution side. Then the reverse osmosis takes place. Now the solvent particle from the salt water will move to this side and we can get a fresh water from the salt water by reverse osmosis and is of great practical utility. Reverse osmosis is used in desalination of the seawater. A schematic setup for the process is shown in the given figure. When pressure more than the osmotic pressure is applied, pure water is squeezed out of the seawater through the membrane. A variety of the polymer membranes are available for this purpose. The pressure required for the reverse osmosis is quite high. A workable porous membrane is a film of cellulose acetate. 1 mark question. Placed over a suitable support, cellulose acetate is permeable to water but impermeable to impurities and ions present in seawater. These days, many countries use desalination plants to meet their potable water requirements. Now, abnormal molar mass or want of factor. Now, the abnormal molar mass situation arises when the solute particle either dissociate or associate in the given solution. Now, I am taking the example of KCl from the NCERT textbook. If we dissolve 1 mole of KCl in water, we expect 1 mole each of K plus and Cl negative ion to be released in the solution. If this happens, there would be 2 moles of particles in the solution. 1 mole potassium ion and 1 mole chloride ion. But initially we have taken only 1 mole of KCl. So if we ignore interionic attraction, 1 mole of KCl in 1 kilogram of water would be expected to increase the boiling point by 2. 0.52 Kelvin is equal to 1.04 Kelvin. Now if we did not know about the degree of dissociation, we could be led to conclude that mass of 2 mole particle is 74.5 gram and the mass of 1 mole of KCl would be 37.25 gram. This brings into light that rule that when there is dissociation of the solute into ions, the experimentally determined molar mass is always lower than the true value. If the solute particles dissociate in the given solution, then experimentally determined molar mass is always lower than the calculated value or true value. Now again, if the solute particle associated in the given solution. Now the molecules of the ethanoic acid, acetic acid, 2 moles of ethanoic acid associate together by means of the hydrogen bonding. This is hydrogen bonding, this is hydrogen bonding, and it form a dimer. Dimerizes in the benzene. Molecules of ethanoic acid dimerizes in benzene due to the hydrogen bonding. This normally happens in solvents of low dielectric constant. In this case, the number of particles is reduced due to dimerization. Association of molecules is depicted as follows. It can be undoubtedly stated here that if all the molecules of ethanoic acid associate in benzene, then delta Tb or delta Tf for ethanoic acid will be half of the normal value. The molar mass calculated on the basis of this delta Tb or delta Tf will therefore be twice the expected value. Such a molar mass, this is either lower or higher. And the difference in the expected value and the normal value is called the abnormal molar mass. And want of introduced a factor I, small I, known as want of factor, to account for the extent of dissociation or association in this factor. The extent of association or dissociation can be calculated in terms of want of factor small I. Small I is equal to normal molar mass upon abnormal molar mass. Observed colligative property upon calculated colligative property, or more clear form. Small I is equal to total number of moles of particle after dissociation or association divided by number of moles of particle before association or dissociation. Here abnormal molar mass is experimentally determined molar mass and calculated colligative properties are obtained by assuming that the non-volatile solute is neither associated not dissociated in case of the association. Value of I is less than unity, while for dissociation it is greater than unity. For example, the value of I for aqueous KCl solution is close to 2. 1 mole K plus ion, 1 mole Cl ion. So the value will be I value will be 2. While the value of ethanoic acid in benzene is nearly 0.5 because 2 moles of the ethanoic acid dimerizes and to give the one dimer. Inclusion of the van 't Hoff factor modifies the equation for colligative property. If solute dissociate or associate in the solution, then the colligative equations will be modified. Now in relative lowering of vapor pressure, P01 minus P1 divided by P01, relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to I into what? X2. X2 is what? Mole fraction of non-volatile solute, N2 upon N1. Elevation of boiling point, delta TB is equal to I into KB into small m, where small m is the molality. Depression of freezing point, modified as delta TF is equal to I into KF into small m. And osmotic pressure, pi V is equal to nRT or pi V is equal to I nRT, where N2 is the number of moles of non-volatile solute. So after the dissociation and association of the solute in the solution, all the colligative property equations, mathematical equations modified as by adding the van 't Hoff factor. Now in next discussion I will take all the unsolved and solved exercise of this chapter. Now this is all about this chapter of solution from the NCERT content. Now we can summarize this chapter as a whole. According to Henry law, the solubility of a gas in a liquid is directly proportional to the partial vapor pressure of the gas over the solution. Raoult's law states that partial pressure of a substance is directly proportional to its mole fraction. Lowering of vapor pressure, elevation of boiling point, freezing point, depression and osmotic pressure are colligative properties. We depend only on the number of moles of non-volatile solute particles. In electrolyte solutions, the interaction between ions leads to the formation of ion pairs. The van 't Hoff factor provides a measure of the extent of dissociation or association of the electrolyte in the solution. The direction of osmosis can be reversed if we apply the pressure larger than the osmotic pressure on the solution side, and by this process, by this reverse osmosis, we can get the potable water from the sea water. Student, this is all about the chapter solution, and I hope that the concepts are more clear to you. Thank you.